Let's get to the point.
Get to the point. Get to the point.
President Trump yesterday in his address, about a 19-minute primetime address, says that the Iran war, let me just read the headline from CBS News. Trump says Iran war will wrap up very shortly in primetime address, but pledges extremely hard strikes coming in the coming weeks. He pledged the U.S. forces will continue striking Iran extremely hard over the next 2 or 3 weeks and warned that he will obliterate the country's electric plants and the oil infrastructure if the leaders do not agree to a deal. My guess, this again, coming from a guy that just takes in information and interprets it in my own mind, and also tries not to be like super beholden to one thing. I'd like to come to a sense of reasonableness, which is what I think the president also does. At least I would hope. No, of course he does. He's a pragmatic guy. What a lot of people very, very close to this are saying is that the new regime, which effectively it is a new regime because they wiped out the A team and then also the B team and like are halfway through the C team. So the new guys that are coming to power, it looks very much like they might be willing to play ball in that, hey, fine, we'll stop the whole nuke thing, which is, again, remember, that's the goal, ultimately. We'll stop the nuke thing, just, fine, come in and check, do your due diligence, whatever you want, just let us stay in power, which honestly would be a pretty good deal for them. And so that kind of is what I'm getting from this, just kind of observing. But if you think I'm wrong, tbt@tbusa.com. I think that would be great. If President Trump could get out of Iran in 2 to 3 weeks and just be done with some new leadership. Now, obviously, we'd like them to be a little bit more Western, not kill their protesters. But at the end of the day, what do I care? If how the Iranian government governs, if they no longer have any sort of inclination to design a nuclear weapon because they could see what could happen to them if they were to continue in that route. So that's what President Trump basically delivered. Strong speech, by the way. Pretty good. I liked it. But that's that, and we'll all find out together how this unfolds. I trust the guy who makes pragmatic decisions in the White House, of whom we elected. All right, coming up, number 3, getting to the point. This is kind of just just classic California politics, and is kind of a bigger or a smaller part of the bigger story that is fraud around the country, unfortunately. This hospice facility, why don't I just read the headlines? CBS News. Hospice, where staggering 97% of terminal patients survive, is accused of defrauding Medicare of $7.5 million. You don't say. Hold on. Well, wait a minute. You're telling me that the hospice, where, if you're not familiar with hospice, is where people who are terminally ill go effectively to a home or their home to be on hospice to inevitably pass away. You're telling me that a hospice had a 97% terminal patient survival rate? Get out of town. What? One of two things are happening. One, they are guilty of defrauding the taxpayer to the tune of millions of dollars. Or two, they're working miracles over there. They have a magical potion. They have devised and developed the fountain of youth in this rundown strip mall hospice in Los Angeles, probably, in California. And then we should just send everybody there. They've solved our medical crisis. Anybody who is sick, just go to this hospice. You will be cured, or at least have a 97% chance of surviving whatever it is that ails you. So those are the two options. It's either fraud or they're the second coming. I don't know. There's no wiggle room here. One of those two things. The FBI arrested the folks that ran that hospice, and they're describing the arrests as a serious targeting hospice fraud in the state of California. The high survival rates were one of the many things that flagged investigators to that. But again, like I said, I am willing to be convinced that these people have discovered the cure to all ailments. Actually, I hope that's the case. But likely it's fraud. All right, next point. Let's see. Hegseth, Pete Hegseth. This is from the New York Times. Of all the places to get this, we got it from the New York Times. Hegseth reverses helicopter crew suspension over the Kid Rock flyby. If you haven't seen this video, man, this is on me. I should have brought the video to you, but I'm sure you've seen it already. Bunch of helicopters, military helicopters, flew by Kid Rock's house, which I think the biggest thing I learned from this is, holy cow, Kid Rock has a nice house. And Kid Rock's out there, standing out there, waving, saluting to the helicopters. And then because libs are for some reason now like fiscal hawks, or like, you know how much that cost the taxpayer? Like, yeah, okay, yeah, it did cost the taxpayer a little bit of money in fuel, I guess. But remove the plank out of your own eye before you move the speck out of ours. Big story on the lib side of the aisle. Those helicopter pilots were suspended. And then Hegseth goes, no, dude, what? That's dumb. Okay. Kid Rock has not publicly commented, although he might as well have by showing off his super nice house. All right. This point. Maybe we'll get to one more after this, but we'll see. Arizona woman who went missing without a trace for 32 years was found alive. That's actually incredible. That's very nice. That's very good. Christina Marie Plante, who vanished without a trace at the age of 13 in 1994 from Arizona, while walking to a horse stable near her home, has been found alive 32 years later, which is unbelievable. Despite extensive initial searches, national database listings, and periodic case reviews, no viable leads emerged for decades until the sheriff's new cold case unit used modern technology and investigative techniques to develop a breakthrough to confirm her identity. Unbelievable. Authorities have resolved her missing person status, but released no further details, which I will be fascinated. This is one of those like follow-up stuff. Like I will follow up on this because this is fascinating to me, and I'm sure it would be fascinating to you how they did it, why they did it. Where was she? What was going on? If any of that stuff emerges, I promise we will bring it to you to the best of our ability. Pam Bondi ousted as Attorney General. Sources say this, I think headlines from a little bit earlier today. It was made definitive since then. From CNN. Here's the thing. Libs are going to celebrate this. They're like, hey, hooray. And, there's some, people on our side that'll celebrate this. I see this as a guy governing the way that governors should govern. And I say governor like as a person who governs, not, obviously a state governor. He's the president of the United States. President Trump is doing what for some reason previous administrations never did and never got flack for. This is just a change. We talked about this when he made a change in Minneapolis with all of those lunatics rioting in the streets. Hey, we got a PR. There's a lot of different components to this. We're just going to make a change. We're going to make some adjustments. Insert Tom Homan. Then ultimately, Kristi Noem is replaced with Mark Wayne Mullen. There's just changes. And you know what's even weirder than Trump making changes? People saying, turmoil inside Trump's cabinet. The guy's a business person. If the certain point of his business isn't doing what he wants it to do, yeah, you make a change. No big deal. What's crazier is when people don't make changes in the face of clear failures. Literally nobody got fired from the Biden administration. Literally nobody. That's weirder than President Trump making changes as he sees fits. What's weirder is that Jen Psaki didn't get fired from being the press secretary. She took more money, and then KJP identity hire was just there forever. She never quit. She never left. Nobody ever got fired. Merrick Garland, 4 years as the attorney general, never got fired despite all of these scandals that plagued the Biden administration. Who else is there? Antony Blinken, Secretary of State, the entire time. Throughout all of the things, even with the debacle of the Afghanistan withdrawal, we're gonna keep par for the course. Alejandro Mayorkas, the DHS secretary under Biden, who said on TV multiple times, the border is secure, never got fired. Nobody ever was replaced. No changes were made in spite of the disastrous, tumultuous Biden administration. That is actually crazy. President Trump making adjustments is, like it or not, we elected him because we trust his judgment, and he's making judgment calls. Fine. This is not the hit to the right that libs are going to make it out to be. Ooh, there's trouble in paradise. Businessman is making some business decisions. Fine. You know what's crazier is when your guy the last time didn't make any adjustments. Zero whatsoever. Nobody got fired from that admin. That's weirder. Just so we're clear. God, I'm a little bit more heated about that than I thought I would. Sorry, I bring the temperature down a little bit. I get frustrated at the lack of perspective that so many people have on this. It's just, I don't know. Jobs change, business changes. It's fine. It's crazy if you don't adjust. I will also be in Anaheim, California, April 16th, doing a comedy show. TBT at tpusa.com if you'd like information on tickets, as well as April 28th at the University of Idaho with Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh. Also, tpt at tpusa.com if you'd like any info on either of those events, or would just like to be, kept in the loop on where we're going, what we're doing as far as live events. tpt at tpusa.com for any of those inquiries.